Welcome to the Justin Ng Show, where real entrepreneurs and investors reveal how they turn humble beginnings into high-impact ventures. From bold moves to capital raises, we unpack what it really takes to build and scale greatness. Let's go check it out. Welcome everybody to the Justin Ng Show. Today I'm sitting down with Joshua Curtis, a purpose-driven leader who's all in on growth, mindset, and building real success. We talk about his journey from humble beginnings to becoming a powerful force in business and leadership. From staying disciplined to building generational wealth, this episode is filled with real-life strategies and wisdom. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me here today on the Justin Ng Show. I have an amazing guest today, Josh Curtis from Sierra Angels. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I appreciate your time.
Fantastic to be here. Thank you.
Let's just start like how is the journey like from early days and to where you are right now with Sierra Angels. If you can just give like a brief high level overview of like, the things that you started from humble beginnings to where you are right
absolutely. I was born and raised in Hawaii.
Ooh,
and I went to school up in Oregon State, the Beavers,
Nice.
Go Beavers. And it's during college that I discovered poker.
Okay.
And this was around 2005. So it was in the middle of the big poker boom. Everybody was playing. And I had never really played before. And some guys that lived in the same dorm as me kind of said, "Hey, come and play with us." I was like, I don't like to gamble. How much is the buy-in? $5. I was like, oh, that's pretty steep. So I went down and played, and I lost my $5 very quickly. And I went upstairs, and I was like, what in the world just happened? Like, I had no idea what just happened. So I went online and Googled how to play poker.
Okay, nice.
And that began my kind of professional gambling career. So for the first month, I lost my $5 every time that we played. And the next month, I started to break even. And the third month, I started to win. And by the end of the year, we couldn't play anymore because I had managed to win all the money in the dorm. I just kind of had a knack for it. So I played poker kind of during my off times while I went through school. By the time I was graduating, I was making more playing poker than I was at my kind of summer job.
Wow.
And so the day I graduated, I packed all my stuff up in my car and drove down to Vegas to play poker professionally.
Okay. So how was that journey from doing that into pivoting into doing Sierra Angels and helping with the startups?
It's definitely an unconventional pathway to venture, for sure. I know a few other gamblers who've kind of taken that path, but not many. But I played poker professionally for about 8 years, and then sports betting was being legalized.
Yes.
And I thought there was going to be a lot more upside in this emerging kind of new sports market. So I transitioned over to sports betting and been a professional sports bettor ever since. So I work with a couple guys that are very, very bright, and we kind of bet sports professionally. So it was during my time kind of both doing poker and sports at the same time that I met a guy at the poker table, a guy named Lenny Barshak. I was just out with dinner last night.
Oh, nice. Amazing.
Yeah. And I was talking kind of poker and business with Lenny, and I was like, like sports has been fun and poker's fun, but I'm interested in more than just kind of gambling. He goes, well, there's this incredible program called Angel NV. And I'd never heard of it before. And I go, what's Angel NV? He goes, well, it teaches you how to become an angel investor. And by learning how to become an angel investor, you will learn so much about business, and it's directly applicable to so many different areas.
Right.
And so for someone who had no traditional business background, it was an incredible starting point for me. So that's kind of how I started to get involved in venture, which is a program that still runs, that I now help facilitate and run, called Angel NV. So Angel NV is a program that teaches people how to be angel investors. So it runs once a year in January here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And for about 3 or 4 months, you take about 60 Nevada-based companies, and a group of last year we had around 80 angel investors all get together on a Zoom call. And slowly you kind of, over the weeks, you learn how to analyze these companies, and you vote them down to a final 6. And then the final 6 companies go into due diligence, which takes about a month. And then you vote, and the winner will get a big check from everyone.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And that was a profound change then, to be able to get from poker to sports betting to Angel Envy and now
Yeah,
Sierra
so
Angels. Yeah.
I'll give you a funny kind of aside with gambling
Okay.
and venture. So in venture, especially early stage venture, the fail rate for startups is very, very high.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to play a poker tournament, the failure rate in poker tournaments is actually very, very high as well. So if you actually graphed kind of the return profile of a poker tournament and a startup, they're very much the same. Most of the time, a poker tournament, you will lose and get $0.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, startups will fail in some way or another.
Yeah.
A smaller percentage of the time, they'll return your money, or maybe a 2 or 3x, right? Same thing with a poker tournament. When you get into the money, you'll return your buy-in plus 2 or 3x your money. But really, all the concentrated returns are at the final table of the tournament and the outlier success stories in venture.
Right.
So if you were to plot that out, it's almost a one-to-one comparison.
Really?
Yeah.
And you did that research and you see the plot.
It was one of the few things in venture that was very intuitive to me when it was explained that, hey, listen, you're placing bets on these companies that most of the time they fail, but when they do well, they do exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And that power law sort of concept is very intuitive for a gambler, because we're used to kind of placing bets on outcomes that might have small probabilities of success, but we understand that if they are successful, the returns will be outsized.
Okay, so it's kind of something that you have that skill set and the intuition to see there's a risk involved, but there is a calculated risk that you want to take.
Correct.
And that's why you just see it. And is that something when you facilitate, but how do you pitch it to the investors to tell them like, hey, this is something that we see this, but maybe from your ways of investing, maybe you want to be more conservative, maybe you want to be more like just gung ho into it.
Sure.
Is it something you also teach when you facilitate that, or you just let them, you guide them and say, this is what we have and this is how we're going to show it to you?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I think the two big pieces of that, the first would be a concept from poker, which is bankroll management, right? Bankroll management, which is akin to portfolio construction in typical venture, where people want to make sure that people understand that, hey, venture should be a small part of your portfolio, and each individual bet that you place on a company should be relatively small, because you want to place a lot of different bets in order to kind of capture that power law return, right? If maybe 1 out of every 20 companies is going to do really well, you want to be able to hopefully bet on at least 20 companies, right? To really kind of allow yourself to capture the upside of the power law.
Diversify.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of concept number one, right? Portfolio management, bankroll management, and making small bets amongst these companies. Small relative to your bankroll, right? And then the second piece would be the probabilistic thinking piece. So one thing that poker players and gamblers are good at are probabilistic thinking, which is just simply saying that understanding that low chance outcomes on their own aren't a bad thing, as long as the return from a low chance outcome is very, very high, right? So if I offered you, hey, listen, I'm going to offer you something that you're going to risk, $10, and it's going to fail, 9 times out of 10. But if I say that the one time that it does do well, I'm going to give you $200, that should be okay. Yeah, we're going to take that. But you'd be surprised that when presented the math that way, very, very simplistically, it's kind of it's easy to intuit, but once it gets a little bit more complex and abstract, with impartial information, it gets a lot more difficult. But you can still think that way. You can still kind of say, hey, I don't know, this startup might fail. I might think this startup might fail maybe 90% of the time. But that in itself isn't a reason not to invest in the startup, because I need to really understand what happens that 10% of the time if it succeeds. Because if that 10% portion, if the return there is highly outsized compared to the risk, then it's still a really good bet. And people get trapped in kind of binary thinking. Will it succeed or will it fail? And that's a trap. To just think in a binary way.
That is basically how engineering and anybody in STEM think that way, because That's how I was too when I went to college. They teach you in engineering it's just ones and zeros, binary, but there's always a plus and minus 5% leeway
Yeah.
that we put to ourselves. But in the real world, that percentage might skew a little bit, because based on the kind of product you're trying to do, or how critical the task or the project is
Yeah.
too. And I'm guessing it's also the same thing when it comes to like raising funds for startups. Like you have to look at the bigger picture, the higher level sense, and it's just interesting to see how it is that ties into. I guess basic investing and raising capital is the same thing. It's just you just have to look at the bigger picture and do all your numbers, make sure the underwriting is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
is that something that you guys also train and help facilitate, or they know already that coming in that's something that they.
I would say that I would say that we do a fair amount of. You mentioned underwriting or kind of risk assessment, right? And I think a lot of people naturally, just the word risk, when you hear risk and risk assessment, I think most people think, all right, we need to limit downside, right? And in a lot of ways, that's a really good way to think. You definitely want to limit downside. But I think venture at times can be a practice of trying to conceptualize hidden upside.
Okay.
Right, and not
Yeah.
just downside, because it's very easy to, especially with early stage startups.
Yeah.
Things are going to be put together with duct tape.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a process. It's very early stages. Things aren't going to look refined. You have to kind of be able to see past that and see potential.
Right.
And seeing potential is not a practice of risk management, right? When I think of risk management, I think there's also, risk and return. Those things go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
So you're always keeping that return piece in mind when assessing risk.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. And going back to like like your journey and everything, you mentioned about that gentleman you met for dinner.
Yeah.
Will you consider him like a mentor and the guy who like brought you into the space?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How do you, in your personal experience, like how do you cultivate that relationship with him, and seeing like yes as a mentor, like how do you cultivate it?
I think that's a great question. I think for me, if to cultivate a mentor, I would say the biggest thing, because I've been on both sides of this, the biggest thing as a mentor that you want to see is that if someone shows up with passion and curiosity and intellectual curiosity and really wants to learn, it's a really, really, that really causes a lot of engagement for the mentor, because you see that resonates with you. And I think every mentor-mentee relationship, there's some form of mirroring going on where the mentor sees some form of themselves in the mentee. And I think the mentee sees some form of themselves in the mentor. And I think the strongest bridge between those things is someone who's passionate and really, really curious.
Gotcha.
Because if someone's really intellectually curious, it's gonna give you energy as a mentor, because this person's like a sponge. They're just absorbing everything that you're teaching. And then conversely, I think as the mentee, really showing up and showing this person that that you're taking what they're saying and also kind of synthesizing it. At the same time, also hopefully in some ways challenging the mentor in some way. And that dynamic can be really, really fun and full of growth.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you a mentor to someone else as well right now? Have you switched the tables?
Yeah, I would say that I have, especially I would say within the last probably 4 or 5 years of my time in venture. I've been able to kind of take that position. And it's something I very much value, and it's a very fulfilling sort of relationship both ways, because when I see people that really, like I said, are really intellectually curious, man, it's really exciting. Because to me, that's one of the highest compliments you can give someone, is if they're intellectually curious, because that person's never going to stop learning. They're never going to stop asking questions.
Yeah.
And learning and asking questions, it just leads to growth. And then if you pair intellectual curiosity with a sense of agency and kind of a willingness to act, that's incredibly powerful. Then you are a rock rolling downhill at that point. It's not a matter of if, but when for people like that, generally speaking.
Okay. And so you're just applying like how you were before, absorbing everything, and now you're just using that to be able to help the mentee as well from your previous experience as a mentee for the mentor you had.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
And what were the biggest challenges and aha moments that you came across that helped propel you to be where you are right now in Startup Envy?
Sure.
Angel Envy, yeah.
I'll say the biggest one was coming from a professional gambling background, and I really want to reinforce. I mean, my degrees were in psychology and speech communication with a minor in European history. So these were not degrees necessarily geared to business at all. My last job was a tour guide at Oregon State during the summer.
Okay.
So I had no traditional business experience. So, I'd gambled for going on 16 years at that point. And poker and sports both have a ton of lingo attached. Okay. But it is nothing compared to traditional business.
Okay.
So when I first started in Angel NV, on my first Zoom call, we're looking at these companies, and thankfully there's a ton of very, very seasoned investors on this call, and I'm brand new. Mm-hmm. And the amount of acronyms that people would use are through the roof. And you have to imagine kind of having a blank slate. Every single acronym, I had no idea what they meant, and no one was defining them. No, they would just rolled them out, right? And I remember being on this Zoom call, and I've got my headphones in, I'm listening, and I've got multiple screens at home for the sports betting that I do. And so I'm like looking at the screen, I'm opening up tab after tab on Google, and Googling all the, and so, I mean, I think I ended up with like 20 or 30 tabs after the first Zoom call of little tabs I had to go back on and learn all these different acronyms, KPIs, and all these different things. KPI. Yeah. I mean, there's so many, right? Key performance indicator for those playing along at home. And that was really challenging because it was really being thrown in the deep end. And it's not often, but I would say it's highly encouraged to really throw yourself into something that you feel overwhelmed in, a little bit at first. It was definitely being thrown in the deep end, drinking from a fire hose, right? That sort of thing. Yeah. And it was really challenging. And very quickly, you learn just how much you don't know. And that's a really powerful feeling.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So while it became a challenge, it's something now, years later, that when I run the Angel NV calls, I make sure that if anyone says an acronym, and thankfully now we have ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So anytime that someone says an acronym, I've got ChatGPT open, and even if I know the acronym, I put it in there and I say, just give me a 100-word, summary of what this acronym means.
Okay.
And it spits it out, and I copy paste it in the Zoom chat. And so as we go, everyone's getting kind of, okay, there's no more acronyms. Yeah. So I've kind of taken that challenge and adopted it as my war against acronyms.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing because you never know who's on the call. So just like you, this is like first time, and there's like no idea what's these things, and you're just helping to make it more clear for them to understand. And was there any aha moments throughout this journey of yours that this is the trajectory I want to go, and this is where?
Another great question. I would say after the first Angel NV, we saw some incredible companies that year. The year that I was in, one of them is actually going to be going public. I think it might be this week.
Wow.
Which is really exciting.
That's tremendous.
It's a really exciting result for everyone involved. But afterward, I came out of the program and I looked around, and to me, the most compelling startup that I saw that year was actually the ecosystem itself, the Nevada startup ecosystem. It is growing by leaps and bounds, and there's not enough awareness of what's going on, and that's kind of one of the key things that I'm focused on now is building awareness of all this incredible activity that's going on, kind of beneath people's noses, a lot of ways. And really trying to, I'll give you an example. So there's been a recent law change called the Nevada Certified Investor Law.
Okay.
And this law change is the first in the nation.
Okay.
We're the only state that has this. And basically what this law change says is it changes the requirements to invest in private companies in Nevada. So previously, in order to take place in, say, private market activity, you had to be a accredited investor, right? So $1 million in net worth outside of your primary residence, or I think it is either 200 or 250K in W-2 in the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
With this law change, anyone with a W-2 of above 100K can participate. In addition, I believe as a couple, if you own a business, I believe it's 250K in gross sales. That number might be off.
Okay.
But
yeah.
the bars significantly dropped to allow to kind of allow far more access. And a lot of people aren't aware of that law change.
Yeah.
We're the only state in the nation that's allowed it. And so the aperture and the scope of who can invest is greatly widened.
Right.
And I think, so for someone like myself, last year going into Angel NV, I was very passionate about getting other gamblers involved in this program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because now so many more of them actually,
They
qualify.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just really so many other occupations and people now qualify. And I think getting involved and learning more about, there's so much upside to learning not only how these startups and businesses function, how venture functions, but taking pieces of that away and applying it in other areas.
Yeah.
Right. So it's something I'm very, very passionate in. And again, that's one of the bigger things I focus on now in the ecosystem is awareness of there's some really cool stuff going on.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how are you cultivating this awareness? Like, so are you, whenever you have events, are you telling people like, hey, this is what we're doing? This is the new thing that came along. And are you having like events where you bring in the gamblers that you talk about? It doesn't have to be W-2 at all, right? It can be 1099 because I think gamblers are not W-2, they're mostly 1099, right?
Correct.
And so you're cultivating that relationship that you already have, and just bringing them in and say, hey, you guys can invest here. Your primary in 1099, or you can invest here. It's kind of the same thing, but at least here you have a different type of risk and a different type of like tax benefits and those kind of education that you're bringing them, the awareness.
Absolutely.
And are you doing that as a speech or events that you're doing and giving a talk?
Yeah, so there's kind of maybe there's probably 4 key programs I'd want to touch on. The first is Angel NV. That runs every year in January.
Okay.
It starts. And that is the program that teaches people how to become angel investors and teaches people about venture capital and startups and what's going on in the ecosystem in Nevada. So that's the main one. The second 2 and 3 would be the 2 funds that we have in here now. We have Fund NV2 and we have the 1864 fund. Fund NV2 is a $2 million fund. So investors, Nevada certified investors or accredited investors, invest in the fund, and the fund will go in and make around 20 investments in startup companies here in Nevada. So that's Fund NV2. 1864 is a $10 million fund. That one will solely be for accredited investors because we invest regionally. So we invest a lot of companies here in Nevada, but a lot in the kind of Southwest. And we tend to focus on companies that are away from traditional startup hubs. So away from Silicon Valley and the coast, because those deals can be rather pricey and difficult to get into if you're not kind of there. However, there's a lot of kind of underserved and there's a lot of kind of companies in the heartland and in the Southwest that are yet to be kind of discovered by the coast.
That's interesting.
And that's kind of where our regional focus is. So that's 1864. And then the last one, which is really growing very, very rapidly, is Sierra Angels, as you mentioned. And they are a traditional angel group based out of Incline Village.
Incline Village? Yeah, amazing. Amazing place.
Incredible. Beautiful up there. But now there is a chapter in Las Vegas called Sierra Angels South. And we've now, as the ecosystem has grown, have enough people here, investors here, to actually support its own kind of angel group. And so I'm kind of leading that kind of chapter of the Sierra Angels. We hold events where companies will come in and pitch. Typically, they pitch up in Reno or up in Incline Village.
Yeah.
So we'll be here on Zoom at our events, and then each investor kind of has their individual option, if they want to invest or not.
Yeah.
So it's different than the funds. The funds, you invest in the fund, which then invests on your behalf.
Right. Yeah.
At Sierra Angels, you have kind of a lot more. You get to decide what companies you want to invest in.
Exactly.
Like that.
So it's basically Sierra Angels is more like you go in directly as an investor into the company, while the two funds, you're just part of like a LP, part of the LP, limited
exactly.
partner, and you guys went through the whole SEC to set up the fund, right? So I guess 1864 is like the Nevada, that's when Nevada was formed. Is that
correct?
Yeah,
okay. Exactly.
That's
very
pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah.
And
I like that. I like the name for that fund. Yeah.
And you guys went through the whole process with the SEC, making a 506c rate fund, right? Because you're only accredited investors.
Correct.
And then the other one was 506b. Then I guess
that one is it's under a similar statute, but being that Fund NV2 only invests in Nevada companies.
Okay.
It's available, that it's accessible from the new Nevada Certified Investor Law.
Okay,
so
that's amazing. Yeah.
The minimum to invest in Fund NV2 is $10,000. The minimum to invest in 1864 is $50,000.
Okay.
So Fund NV2 is very pre-seed focused. 1864 is more kind of seed stage.
Okay.
If in the kind of venture life cycle. So
that's amazing. And for each, for all four of them, you guys always have run events, and then you invite like the gamblers that you're talking about.
Absolutely,
to come in, to sit down, listen, and see if they're interested in like diversifying their portfolio and coming in.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, that's truly like I would like to check it out too. That would be amazing.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah. So right now, like, what are you you already get your successes in running the events and running the funds and doing all the startups. Like, are you trying to like I was talking the generational wealth? How are you working on building your generational wealth when you already came to your successes in those areas? How are you working on your own investments for yourself and for your family and building that? Yeah.
So thankfully the sports business is still doing quite well. It's still a good market to be in, a professional sports bettor.
Wow. Okay.
And so between that and the work that I'm doing in venture, I would say that more broadly speaking, the way that I am doing that actually circles back to one of the things that we talked about earlier, is that being continually intellectually curious.
Yes.
And now with AI being here and the way that you can use that as a resource for self-teaching and learning, it is putting that into hyperdrive. So really what I'm doing is that as long as I am continuously learning and kind of trying to stay on the forefront of technology and investing and venture, and if I'm doing my job and really trying to better myself and learning, all the other things tend to fall into place.
Okay, that's perfect.
So, how am I going to build generational wealth? Just learning more today and learning more tomorrow, and trusting that through that process, which can be at times monotonous or not very sexy, or it's I think that's how you do those things. So it's building out my own abilities and skill sets, and then passing that on along to my daughter, who's now 3.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. And what will, if you would be able to go back and make a change, like what will you be doing differently?
Sure, that's a good one. It's personal. I went through, when I moved here, I started drinking when I was 22.
Okay.
Didn't have a sip of alcohol before then.
Oh, wow.
But I definitely made up for it in the following years.
Okay.
So from 22 till about 31, something like that, drinking became part of what I did at the poker table. It was almost part of my persona at the poker table as a professional poker player. People come to the table, they want to have fun, let loose, have a couple drinks. You have a couple drinks with them. It kind of helps loosen the table up. But I think that period of time lasted far too long.
Oh wow.
And getting sober was probably the biggest positive change that it's ever occurred in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I joke about it, I say it's like cheating at life. The amount of time and productivity that you get back
Yeah.
from not being either drunk or hungover. So I consider that it's funny because would I go back and change it? Sure. However, I think that time period did teach me a lot. And there are elements of thinking that, I probably had to go through a time period like that. I don't know if it needed to last as long.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have shortened it. That would have been great. But coming out of it, it gave me a really different perspective, an equanimity with a lot of things. And yeah, so that would fall into the thing I would do differently. Yeah.
That's amazing, and that's basically building. It's not like a generational, but it's building your wealth and your health, right?
Oh
That's
yeah.
It goes back to
Yeah.
that because you have to make it go cohesively, right? Because your health has to be very important too, and
Oh,
I understand.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Congratulations
Thanks.
to doing that because you have to show example to your daughter too. Say,
Yeah.
hey, you want to go through this path, it's okay, but you just have to be mindful of the things
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and in the short term and the long term, or what are your like how are you planning your goals and going through that in
Sure.
both professionally as well as
Mm-hmm.
your personal and
So I'm going to turn 40 in 6 days.
oh wow, happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Thanks.
Happy birthday,
Thanks.
yeah.
Which is exciting. I'm thrilled to be where I am now at 40,
Yeah.
which is an exciting thought. And there are times in my life that I would not have guessed that I would have been able to say that at 40.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting. I think 40 and my 40s are going to be a very new and exciting adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the thing that I'm focused on the most, both in venture and sports and business and personal life, is really deepening my connections and also growing and learning more and more and more. Because I think that right now is this really, really interesting time in not only in the world, but just things are changing so rapidly.
Right. Yeah.
And I think these changes are going to reward those who are, like I said, intellectually curious and constant learners.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my guiding north star. Is that if I
Okay.
feel like I
That's
am
amazing.
learning and growing,
Mm-hmm.
everything else kind of falls into place,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, when I start to feel stagnant or that I'm not learning, that's when that's when a change needs to happen. So that's kind of the direction. Those are the goals I have in the short term are for myself personally, continuous learning and self growth.
Mm-hmm.
For the ecosystem, awareness, right? Spreading awareness and getting more people involved because we have, like I said, it's really incredible what's going on, but just not enough people know about it yet.
Yeah.
And the quicker we can raise awareness, the quicker we can get more of the right people on the bus to kind of help build the Nevada startup ecosystem. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
the quicker everyone's going to reap the rewards of what that looks like, both for our economy and for our community and for our culture as a city and as a state.
I know. Yeah. That's amazing because Nevada is so uniquely placed. Close to California,
Yeah,
Arizona, and Utah too, because Utah has like so many growing stuff too. So
yeah,
you kind of like there and just want to. I guess Nevada has to be also on the map to um, build that as well, because like for me, my W-2, um, in the autonomous driving,
mm-hmm.
it was kind of weird because everybody's here now, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Nevada is giving so many incentives to come here and
Yeah,
run your test. We open,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead and do it instead of doing it in the Silicon Valley, because right now they're going through like they're spreading to bigger cities, but Vegas right now we started out here first, and then other companies came, and then now we have like most of the companies I can think of are here now.
yeah,
They're doing the testing, the
mm-hmm.
operation. So, and we even have a specialty plate. that says autonomous on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's
Yeah.
just, we have our own plates just for that, and that's great that Nevada is actually opening up and
Yeah.
giving out the incentives coming in.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's a great example and indicative of the general business climate and the general support from local government.
right.
That so one of the things that I'll mention is that when Fund and V2 or 1864, the two funds, whenever we make an investment in a company inside of Nevada, the state will come in and match that investment one for one.
Oh wow.
So I think the three most recent raises we did, we raised around $750,000 for each company, and the state came in and matched that.
Wow, that's amazing.
So each company got somewhere in between the 1 million to 1.5 million at pre-seed or early seed stage, which is great. There's a lot of support, and there's a lot. Nevada has all the elements to structurally build out both the business and startup kind of ecosystem here because of the support that we have from local government and the natural kind of friendliness of Nevada for businesses.
That's amazing though. And you say like there's so many changes coming, right? That everything is just growing rapidly.
Yeah.
Especially in AI. And do you think like the presentation and all the events that people present, maybe AI is just gonna just start doing it all by themselves and like no human interaction, just all AI presenting? Is that something that you guys are trying to encourage as well?
I think AI is, in the short term, I think in some respects people overestimate what AI is going to do in the short term and underestimate what it's going to do in the long term.
Okay.
So I think we're in a very strong kind of AI hype cycle right now.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot there, and there's going to be a lot there, but there's also kind of limitations. That's not going to exist forever, and so I think in longer time horizons, and not maybe by longer I mean maybe 3 to 5 years, people might be underestimating just how much AI is going to be able to do, and so I think that's going to it's going to touch every part of our lives, and I think that's going to be it's going to be a very interesting time to live through, to kind of experience this, where this is going to be a real big paradigm shift,
right? For sure, yeah.
Everyone. So whether, and I think a fascinating piece of that is the human AI interaction and what that looks like, and what changes about the ways that we interact with this technology.
Yeah, how do you think it's going to affect, like from your professional gambling experience? I don't think I haven't heard anything yet, but you never know. Like AI probably will tell you like, hey, this is not a good like they deal you a card, AI will say, hey, this might not be working well, but it's up to you.
Sure.
Like a suggestion type thing.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example that's kind of interesting in sports, because there's a lot of talk about this right now. And the state of AI right now is it's fantastic at sourcing and aggregating data from all different sources, especially what you feed it. Professional sports betting is a pretty secretive sort of profession. If you find an edge, is what we'd call it, which is just an edge would be an angle or system or an inefficiency that you've identified in the sports market that's profitable. That would be considered an edge. You don't typically share that information.
Okay.
So maybe that information is derived from just aggregating a bunch of data and machine learning and everything like that. Right?
Yeah.
It's possible. However, a lot of professional sports betting is around dealing with small data sets, dealing with fringe outcomes, dealing with edge cases. And these are things that AI as construed right now isn't necessarily great at. For instance, I can tell you that an AI has looked at 5,000 soccer games, and maybe it says that the team, I've actually heard this recently, I don't know if it was soccer, but teams that wear primary colors get more fouls called on them.
Interesting.
Right, which is interesting, which is like, okay, maybe that's not a pattern that a human being would pick up. But there's two things to that. The first is that that's descriptive, but not maybe prescriptive for what might continue to happen. And two, even if that were true, as soon as that is known, that information, once people start betting based on that information gets subsumed into the market. It basically goes into the market and it influences the market, and the market absorbs that information, and the information becomes kind of priced in. So there's a lot of sports is an interesting case where I think AI is very, very powerful when dealing with large data sets and a lot of information and aggregating that information and synthesizing it, which there's a big element of sports in that, sports betting in that. But sports betting is also a market-based dynamic, and there's a lot of the market-based dynamic that, and small data set situations that AI might not be the best in. So right now there's a brewing bet going on between a company that has AI sports models and one of the best golf bettors in the world, probably the best golf bettor in the world, Rufus Peabody. And there might be $1 million bet between Rufus and the company that makes the AI models betting on golf. And I think pretty soundly, the professional gambling community believes that Rufus will have a considerable edge against the AI.
Yeah.
Right now.
Wow.
But in 5 years, who knows?
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So.
Wow. Okay. And that's thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
because that's kind of like you in a different sense. That's where you are, like, a professional in that sense. You've been in that ecosystem for so long. You can see how things are, and that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
In terms of AI, and so what does the future hold for you now? And what's something that people can bring to you to help you in your ventures?
Absolutely. So I would say for anyone who's listening or wants to is at all interested in venture, or as an investor or as a founder, or as we also have what are called framers, which are people that support startups or support founders or provide resources or want to mentor. There's a lot of different ways to get involved. But if you are at all interested or have any sort of experience and want to get more involved, please reach out.
Okay.
I'd love to kind of get everyone plugged in more to the ecosystem.
Okay.
So that would be on the venture side, and then on the sports side, if sports side is a tough business to crack into, but it's something if a person's interested in, we can absolutely talk about that as well.
Okay, that's amazing. And what would be a good platform to reach out to you to learn more about this?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn's probably great.
Okay.
Or I don't know if you'd share my contact information here at the.
You can.
Wherever. Josh@startupnv.org is my email.
That's your email. Okay.
Yeah, Josh@startupnv.org.
And they can reach out to you as well for both the sports gambling and as well as for at the email.
Sure.
And the best place also for LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm available on LinkedIn as well.
Okay. Is there like a website as well for you, or however you want people to reach out to you other than those two places?
I think if you want to reach out to me personally, that's the best way. But I think for more general resources on the startup ecosystem, you want to go to startupnv.org, I think.
Okay. And I know you also run events. Like when is your next event?
So Sierra Angels will be holding a kind of investor event for people interested in becoming a member of the Sierra Angels. That'll be June 26th. We are finalizing the location this weekend. Perfect. And that if anyone is interested in that, they can both apply at sierraangels.com, I believe, to become a member, or just reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation.
That's amazing. Yeah. In conclusion, like based on all your experiences and everything, like what can you tell the audience if they want to get into the space? Like how can they get the ball rolling for them? Like you say, you get the little pebble.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of, like, in conclusion, like how can you advise, and how do you get people to want to be in that space? What kind of advice and what kind of like things that you can give?
Sure.
As a mentor to the audience, as the mentee.
I would say that the startup space is a highly inclusive space. And no matter your background or your knowledge level, there is kind of a place for you to get involved if you'd like to get involved. And that can be simply consuming resources that we provide online, or anything like that. But there is a pathway for most everyone to get involved. Okay. So don't be afraid to kind of go out and maybe get a little uncomfortable in something that's new if you find it interesting, because there is a lot of value to be had, not only in that generally, but especially that in the ecosystem in Nevada. There are so many good things going on. I think people would be really surprised.
That's amazing. And if there's any other questions, they can reach out to you personally. Absolutely. And those in LinkedIn and your emails.
Yeah.
And thank you again so much today, Josh, for your time and for your amazing advice in both the startup world, the angel world, investing world, and also like professional sports gambling and also professional sports gambling and professional poker gambling. Yeah. Really appreciate your time today, Josh. Thank you so much again.
Dustin, thank you.
Thank you so much, and appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Cheers.